Welcome to the latest edition of the Los Angeles City Section Baseball Podcast. My name's Connor Morissette here with Alex Scar. Alex, in the words of the great Vince Lombardi, what the hell's going on out here? Teams are winning, teams are losing. The top 10 is totally in flux. I don't even know how we put this top 10 together. There's so much going on right now. It is madness.
Well, okay, before we came on, you said you're going to give a legendary
Yes.
intro. First of all, my goodness, you killed it. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
the West Valley League is absolutely on fire. The Marine League has been tipped over, so there's a lot of good games to get to. New teams in the top 10, teams dropping out of the top 10, new slots, new number one, all kinds of craziness.
We're here at Verdugo Hills where the Dons just knocked off the Colts of Carson in extra innings by a score of 5-4. So that hurts Carson's seeding a little bit, and it just goes to show that anyone really on these Saturday games, if you come to play, you can win, because Saturday, maybe a little bit of a hangover from the previous week when you've played in two games. A lot of teams play Friday, and then they come back, quick turnaround Saturday. Saturdays are madness out here.
Saturdays are pretty tough, especially when you guys kind of have a short pitching staff. Guys running to winning innings, weekly limits. Those kind of make things tough on staff. So Saturdays can be a little bit tough. A lineup you may not be putting out in the rest of the week. So Saturday you kind of have to take, especially wins and losses, a bit with a grain of salt. You kind of look for more individual performances. But here at Verdugo Hills, we saw a complete team win here. They were down a run in the 7th inning. Didn't fight, didn't give up. They actually win this on a walk-off hit by pitch. Dakota Gray just kind of wearing it, turned into a breaking ball there. So, hey, any way you can beat a team here like Carson, Verdugo, big statement win for them.
So we are really anxious for the playoffs because it's going to be exciting, but also so our top 10 can get totally evened out and the professionals can put out their seedings and make everything look good. Just want to preface our top 10 by saying that, because there are going to be instances where you could say, how are they higher than them? They beat them. It's all about kind of what you've done lately. So El Camino Real's taken a bit of a step back after getting swept by Cleveland, but then Cleveland comes out today and loses to San Pedro, so it's all over the place. Just keep that in mind as we go through the top 10. At 10, Carson, they fall a couple spots. Losing to Verdugo Hills didn't help. Yeah,
Carson, they still have a pretty good lock right there to win that Marine League. But a loss here on Saturday, that's going to hurt them a little bit, so we've got them down to 10. They're 19-9, as I mentioned, 5-1 in the Marine League. They split with Banning here earlier this week, so clearly Banning's going to be the team, in addition to Carson, the team to beat there in the Marine League with San Pedro. So Carson, I think, for momentum's sake, you wanted to win this one, and they had a shot. I mean, they had 2 home runs there at Juan Camarena, So they had a shot there to win this game, but just a little bit. This is one of those kind of things, okay, shake it off. We still got Marine League coming up. This isn't the worst thing in the world. Verdugo's a good team. No shame in losing to them, but a win would have been helpful.
They came back to tie the game in the 7th, and it looked like they had some momentum heading into extra innings, and then they had to switch pitchers. Unfortunately, they lost the momentum there and ended up losing the game. At number 9, Palisades. Good week for them in the Western League, but they fall to El Camino Real today.
Yeah, they lose to Elko, I think 5-1. Jake Wisnan over there had a complete game. Cole Kitchen hit himself another home run. So El Camino's a pretty good hitting team, and when they pitch, they're pretty tough to beat. Palisades, they swept Westchester earlier this week. They're 18-9 here with the loss, but 8-0 in the Western League. Venice looms at the end of the year here, kind of in the middle of May. That's going to decide the Western League title, because Venice right now is a half game back. If they can prove and they can get a couple of wins here, if they sweep this next week and Palisades does the same, we're going to have basically a Western League showdown. Venice and Palisades there for the title. I think Palisades takes it just because they've been hot. They've yet to lose. But Palisades, I think if Venice gives them a shot, there's no guarantee that they win that league.
It looks like there's a pretty clear 1 through 11 for the Open Division, but teams to watch who could sneak into that 12 spot. Venice has a chance at some quality wins with Palisades, as you mentioned. And then our next team, Pauley, in a couple weeks, they take on Verdugo Hills, where we are at right now. Chances for both clubs to get some quality wins and make their case for the Open Division, but Pauley is number 8, Miguel Leal and company, another great week for them.
Yeah, Pauley, they also beat Hamilton here Saturday. A lot of kind of interleague games, a lot of different things going on. They are now 18-10, and they swept Grant, as you mentioned. So Pauley, if they win that league, they're an Open Division. If they lose, if Verdugo Hills sneaks up and they take league from Pauley, I think we're going to see Verdugo jump into the Open Division. But Pauley, for now, I think they've kind of got that locked up, and for our purposes, they're at 8.
The next 2 teams they're playing right now at the time we're filming this, I believe it's an extra innings 2-2 ball game, so we might see some switching when these rankings come out on Sunday. Roosevelt is 7, Banning is 6. Let's talk about the Rough Riders first. Roosevelt at 7.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, these two things can flip, but Roosevelt, as we're talking about them now, they're 17-8. They're undefeated in the league. They swept Southeast. Had a rough loss against El Camino last week, but I think as the Rough Riders start to finish out their season, a really good year here for this team. They're going to be in Open Division pretty much no matter what. They're almost guaranteed to win the league title at this point, so a lot of things working well for Roosevelt, and a win over Banning would be huge.
Yeah, great team up there in the Eastern League. And then Banning, they have a great freshman pitcher who is getting some attention from Eric Sondheimer, and we love to shout him out from time to time. Anytime you're getting attention from him, that trumps the attention that we give because he's got so much on his plate. So he shouted out the pitcher from there, and they didn't sweep, they split with Carson this past week, which was good for them. Maybe a bit of a surprise for us.
Yeah, a little bit. Anthony Hoya is the guy getting the love from Eric Sondheimer. Sondheimer said because Anthony Hoya is just a freshman, they're going to win either in 2019, 2020, 2021, or 2022. I'm not sure those years even exist. That sounds like 50 years in the future, but hey, Banning, you got a good arm on the hill anytime Anthony Hoya takes the ball, and you got a good chance pretty much to be one of the teams to beat in the LA City section. So if they beat Roosevelt, likely they're going to stay at 7. If they lose, maybe they drop to 8. But either way, the split with Carson basically proved this is a 3-team race there in the Marine League. San Pedro, even though their regular season was a little bit off, I think they're 8-18, they have gone out to a 5-1 record in the Marine League, so they're still very much a threat. Banning has Carson this week. That's going to be humongous. They Carson last week. It was a humongous week. They split. Now Carson goes to play San Pedro. Banning plays Narbonne. All kinds of things kind of coming together. If Banning sweeps Narbonne and Carson splits with San Pedro, it's going to be a full 3-team race.
Into the top 5, Cleveland from unranked, and people had some thoughts on them being unranked after their win against Kennedy last week, and we heard you. They've had a fantastic week, sweeping El Camino Real, jump up to number 5, but they just lost to San Pedro today. More of that Saturday kind of hangover, so to speak.
Well, they played 10 innings yesterday, and then to go and play early 10 or 11 a.m. this morning, that's absolutely brutal. That's tough for the professionals. So, hey, you kind of got to cut Cleveland a little bit of slack. But, hey, before today, they had beaten number 1 or a number 2 team in our top 10 for 3 straight games. They swept El Camino, an absolute marathon yesterday. But then they shut them out earlier in the week, and then they beat Kennedy the last Saturday when you and I were there. So a really good team for Cleveland, a really young team. Mostly sophomores there. They got a couple of upperclassmen, but for the most part, they're just a young ball club. And when it comes to the West Valley League, they are ahead right now. And they have a chance really, truly to sweep and finish out the season with a West Valley League title. They've got Granada Hills and Taft still on the schedule, while other schools like Birmingham, they still got to play Chatsworth. So it's really going to be imperative for those bigger teams, those more experienced teams, to come out, sweep a week, put the pressure on a younger team like Cleveland. But as it stands right now, man, they got a really, really good road to win that West Valley League.
Who else has Cleveland beaten? Earlier this season, they split. I keep messing that up. They split with Chatsworth, and Chatsworth is number 4 for us. Gabe Achucaro threw a gem this week for the Chancellors.
Yeah, Chatsworth kind of bringing it all back. The complete body of work for a week, finally sweeping a week after splitting back-to-back weeks in that West Valley League. Sweep Granada, Alex Malone hits himself yet another home run. Gabe Achucaro a complete game shutout. They're 4-2 right now in the league, and as things go forward, I think the more experience is going to kind of come out a little bit. I'm going to get to Miguel Marin, who I talked to last week. Going to talk about him as kind of being one of the senior leaders there for Chatsworth. So it's going to be, as I mentioned with Cleveland, it's going to be imperative for these older teams, use that experience, use that depth, and really try to push through these final 2 weeks.
And all of a sudden, a couple of weeks ago, we were saying, oh, wow, Chatsworth split with Cleveland. That's not really ideal. That's a
now I bet you El Camino would rather have split with Cleveland as opposed to getting swept. But hey, you know, Cleveland, we're talking about them right now. They're a very, very good young upstart team.
Number 3, El Camino Real. Tough week against Cleveland, but they bounced back with a win over another top 10 team today, Palisades.
Yeah, El Camino, they're going to be right there in the thick of it. I think we're going to see them towards the end of May, maybe in June. Hey, you never know, but they're going to be one of the tough teams here to beat, regardless of what happened there against Cleveland. They're always going to be a tough out. Cleveland will tell you this is a really good team. To beat them means a lot. They're 13-12 right now with the win. They're 14-12. The extra inning heartbreaker against Cleveland, hey, that's tough. Those kind of things can go either way. You know, those kind of games, you really don't want to punish a team too much. You know, reward the team that wins, but the team that loses, hey, man, that was a dogfight. They played 10 innings after playing 7 innings the day before, and then they got 7 innings again to play tomorrow. So a good, a tough week there for El Camino, but I think they bounce back.
Into the top 2. It's going to be a different number 1 this week, folks, so get ready. Kennedy is number 2.
Yeah, Kennedy, they're 21-6. They've outscored Valley Mission League teams. I just got to say this because this blew my mind. They've outscored Valley Mission League teams 146-1. Sylmar pushed across the lone Valley Mission League run there against Kennedy.
Well done,
Sylmar. At least avoiding the goose egg, or at least spoiling the goose egg. They've got Birmingham. They lost to Birmingham today, I think 7-1 or 7-2. That's a tough loss. We keep talking about the Friday or the Saturday after a Friday, but hey, these are still games you want to win. Kennedy's now lost back-to-back Saturdays when they faced a team ranked lower than them. So these are kind of the games. These are the games you want to win. I think Kennedy, as I talked to them before, they want to win a title. They want to be the team that everybody else respects. they play a really kind of a tough league schedule in that there are not a lot of competitive teams that they've got to play.
Tough in the sense that it's not very tough.
Right. Tough in the sense that it's not tough at all. But it's tough to get the respect because you're never going to play those tough teams. So when you get these non-league games, you really got to come out and win. Tough loss there for Kennedy.
Number 1, the great return. It's Birmingham. The Patriots are back. DJ Virginie, Johnny Tincher, and the rest of the Patriot gang return to number 1 after a few weeks away from the top spot. They got swept by El Camino Real way back at the beginning of West Valley League play, and that was some cause for concern, but they look like they're back.
Yeah, that's just a little bit of a hiccup, a little bit of a bump, as we see in the West Valley League. Anybody can sweep anybody. Who knows? We don't know. Who knows? Nobody knows. 19-9 there for Birmingham. They swept Taft, outscored them 19-0. Yanez and Garcia both pitched really, really well that week. So the pitching seems to be there for Birmingham. The guys hit today. They hit a couple days ago. The pieces are all pretty much there, and we've talked about league as if it means absolutely everything, but Birmingham didn't win league last year. In fact, they had a losing record in West Valley League play last year, so you can still win city, you can still make a deep run in the playoffs, but hey, when you're winning league, it just means you're playing well, and I know Birmingham right now, they want to win it, and they're doing what they can.
That is a great point. I did not know that they did not have a winning record last year in league. Very interesting. Let's go to some games to watch. Verdugo Hills JV has a game, so we had to move off to the side for safety reasons. So let's continue the podcast. Alex, games to watch, where we look at some of the best games in the city section this upcoming week, starting in the Valley Mission League. Kennedy, will they finally be challenged playing San Fernando home and home?
Hey, if anybody's going to give them a challenge, it's going to be San Fernando. They've been one of the tough teams to beat. Kennedy in recent years has really kind of taken that league, but here's a shot, San Fernando. They can kind of spoil the season a little bit, at least for seeding purposes there for Kennedy. I think Kennedy's probably going to win league. I'm not sure what the records are that they've clinched it yet, but they're pretty darn close if they haven't already. So San Fernando, here's a chance to play spoiler. You can still play good baseball, even if these don't necessarily mean you're going to suddenly jump into the open division or win league or whatever. But if you can go out and you can beat teams, you can beat a good team, this is always a good quality win.
In the Marine League, Carson and San Pedro play each other twice. I know that both of those teams have a game up in the loss column against Banning, so that's pretty big.
Yeah, Banning right now they're 4-2. San Pedro and Carson are both 5-1. So one of those teams is going to have at least another loss, if not 2 losses on their record. So here's a chance for one team to really storm ahead. San Pedro is not a team we've talked about. It's not a team that's been in our top 10. But if they go out and sweep Carson, that is basically ensuring they're going to have a shot to win that league title outright. So here's a really good chance. And on the flip side for Carson, you go out, you sweep San Pedro, that then puts Banning even more in a tough spot because you've already played them, right? They've already split. So Banning doesn't necessarily have that opportunity to take those 2 games from you. So I think if Carson sweeps and if Banning splits against Narbonne, who's played some pretty decent baseball lately, that's going to be really tough.
And here's the weekly West Valley League preview. Chatsworth, Birmingham play, Cleveland, Granada play, El Camino Real, Taft play. Alex, you can attack these matchups one by one. You can take the takeaway from each. You can give me thoughts on just in general. What are you thinking?
All right, here I'm going to give you my likeliest team to sweep. I think that's El Camino right now. They're playing Taft, who just got swept by Birmingham. They did take a game from Chatsworth, but so far that's their only West Valley League win. Taft's just kind of a younger team. They're really not playing as well as some of the other teams. And for El Camino, this is what you want to do. You want to go out. Yeah, you had a tough week against Cleveland, but we've seen that they're a tough team. They're a legit team. You go out and you beat Taft, you sweep them, you're right back clicking on all cylinders as the season ends and goes towards the final week.
I agree with you. I think El Camino Real does have a good chance to sweep Taft. I like to look at just the best matchup, and I think this week that's Chatsworth against Birmingham. 2 teams that got off to tough West Valley League starts but have bounced back. Birmingham now number 1 on our poll. Chatsworth back in the top 5 at number 4. I wish I could give someone a better prediction than this, but I'm not really sure which way it's going to go. It's been so unpredictable. But these are 2 teams that they're going to battle really hard. 2 very talented rosters. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a split. The home teams win both. I just think these teams are too good and they'll balance each other out.
Hey, that's why they play the games, right? You have no idea what's going to happen. We keep saying it on this podcast. Anybody can beat anybody on any given week. Talk about a team that could beat anybody. Cleveland plays Granada Hills. And I know Granada Hills just dropped out of our top 10. Hey, that's a tough drop for them. They played kind of a tough matchup there against Chatsworth. They got swept. Still one of the good teams, but when Cleveland plays as well as they do, and we decide we got to move them in, someone's got to fall out, and the rest of our top 10 won their week. So unfortunately there for Granada Hills, they fall out of the top 10, But go out, beat Cleveland. You're the experienced team. You're the older team. It's mostly sophomores over there. Yes, they're hot. Yes, they're playing good baseball right now. But Granada, there's a chance you're going to be one of the big open division teams. Go out and play like it. Go out and take it. You'll be right back where you think you ought to be.
And Alex, lastly for our Games to Watch segment, I know you have a small update from the Central League. There's one team in a division we usually don't talk about too often who's just doing some incredible stuff right now.
Yeah, Central League, quick trivia question. Name me one team from the Central League.
You want me to do it?
A dramatic pause. Nobody knows the Central League.
Well, I do.
Well, you do. It's your job to know.
Okay.
People out there watching, no one knows the Central League. You got Hollywood, Contreras, RFK. These are not teams you think about. These are not necessarily powerhouses. Good academic schools in some rights, but certainly not athletically. But Roybal, the Roybal baseball team, they're 20-3.
They're balling.
They're Royballing out there. They're 20-3 under Coach Robert Bautista. 9-0 in the Central League. 172-0. They've outscored their Central League opponents. A plus 172 run differential. You're not going to see that anywhere in high school baseball. That's a fantastic run for them. And a shout out there for Roybal. Ivan Davila hitting .551 with a .616 on base percentage, 14 doubles, 30 RBIs. Hey, and on the mound, he's not too shabby. He's pitched 13 innings, struck out 15, allowed just 1 run. Yes, I know, Roybal, who do they play? They play teams with kids that may not be properly dressed for the game of baseball, but they're still really, really playing well. I know we've got Division I and Open here this year. It's going to be interesting to see where Roybal fits, but they're not going to be a pushover. Yeah, they don't have the notoriety, but shout out to you guys. They played really, really well.
Well, hey, I mean, their schedule a lot of the time, it's no different than Kennedy's.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Seeing Kennedy roll 30-0, 42-0,
That's true.
25-0. So
hey, you still got to win the games.
Yep,
you got to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat.
Absolutely. Let's move on now to our Game Ball segment where we discuss some of the top players in the Los Angeles City section from the past week. Alex, you have 2, I have 2. Get us started, man.
Miguel Marin, the shortstop over there, the senior at Chatsworth, one of the leaders. I talked to him after a big shutout victory over Granada Hills. Great kid, and he's swinging the stick like nobody else right now. 6 for 9 over his last 2 games. Stole a couple of bags, driven in a run, playing really good defense over there at shortstop. So when you've got leaders like that playing in a really, really important position like short, it's nice. You bat him towards the top of the order, he's going to get on base, he's going to get knocks, he's going to steal you a bag. So game ball for you, my man.
For me, I'm going kind of outside the box a little bit. Crenshaw High School's Dayton Thomas is a starting pitcher, and when he's not pitching, he'll be playing shortstop for the Cougars. And Crenshaw had a tough loss to Dorsey. We were there a few days ago, but this guy, I was really impressed with him. He's playing with teammates who, let's be honest, have very minimal to sometimes no experience at all, so he has to deal with a lot of errors out there, and I thought he pitched really well. There was one inning where Dorsey scored 7 runs, I believe, and a lot of those were unearned.
If not all of them.
Yeah, guys getting on, not because of hits, just because of tough plays in the field. So I wanted to shout out Dayton Thomas because I think he's an excellent pitcher, and he's also a pretty good hitter. He had a double in that Dorsey game, bats second for the Cougars. If you go up against Crenshaw, he's definitely someone to know. He's having a great season, even though the Cougars are struggling a little bit, but that program, head coach Jordan Sigmund, he's really trying hard to turn it around, and they've won 5 games this year. They didn't win a game last year, so I'd say they're off to the right track, and it has a lot to do with Thomas.
Yeah, he pitched, I think, 7 innings. He got up over 100 pitches. Coach Sigmund really has to lean on him. He's the guy. He's pretty much the one pitcher that they've got. And it's tough when you're a pitcher and you're getting ground balls, you're doing your job, especially Dorsey. Wasn't really a pushover of a lineup. They had some guys that can hit. So you're doing your job, you're getting guys to roll over, and then the defense just isn't making plays behind you. It's heartbreaking, and it's really tough, but he kept his composure. It's one thing I really like. We were both there really kind of soaking in what a Crenshaw program is. And for him, battling through adversity, that's exactly what he's been doing, and shout out to him.
Yeah, kept his head up. That's all you can ask for. Who else do you have, Alex?
I've got Brian Andrade over there at Cleveland. He's a senior pitcher, a complete game shutout. I'm sorry if I butchered your last name. It just happens. But
maybe Andrade?
Andrade. Let's just try them all, and then maybe. But Brian Andrade, you pitched an absolute gem against El Camino, a complete game shutout, no earned runs, and complete game wins over El Camino and Birmingham and Chatsworth. So
wow.
The kid, he's thrown right into the fire. Those are the 3 big Titans over there in the West Valley League, and no earned runs in any of those starts. So they got a really good guy on the hill when he's up there. So Cleveland, I know we've talked about how young they are, but they've got a senior stud who takes the ball every week. He's really, really tough to hit, and he's not playing pushovers. He's really pitching against the best lineup, so hey, game ball for me.
And for me here, we're at Verdugo Hills. My second game ball goes to Verdugo Hills catcher Matt Goki. Hit a 3-run bomb against Carson today that really set the tone for the Dons. In this game, they were up 3-0, and then they let Carson get back into the game 3-3, go on to win an extra innings 5-4. But Matt Goki threw a guy out behind the plate, was very impressed with that. Hit a 3-run bomb. Great game from the junior
Then how about
catcher.
the bat flip?
Yeah,
you know,
did a little bat flip as well. Great guy.
Yeah, just the interview, you guys absolutely have to watch it.
Yep.
The team had a ton of fun. Carson was a tough team they really wanted to beat. Emotions were kind of running high. Both teams were chirping at each other, but they came out with the sticks were just absolutely raking today. I know Charlie Roker's been a guy we've paid a lot of attention to, but clearly there are hitters up and down this Verdugo Hills lineup. And yeah, Goki had a great game. That home run, he said I hit it, I didn't even know where it went. It just felt so good. I was feeling so good. I didn't even pay attention to where the ball went. Well, it went out. He had a nice little bat flip. Good overall win there for Verdugo Hills.
Yeah, very impressed with him. Do you have two other guys you want to quickly mention?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about those starting pitchers over there at Cleveland and El Camino. They had an absolute marathon. Chris Lozano and Brian Golnick really pitching their hearts out. That was a tight game. You never know how long a baseball game is going to go. That's kind of one of the unique things about this game. There's no clock, so you never know. 7 innings, yeah, that's how long it goes. Could go 14. There's no way to know. Both these kids threw what would have been complete games, 7 complete innings, so a really good outing from both of them. They matched each other. I think Golnick struck out 10 or 11 hitters there. He's been one of the guys we've talked about a lot on this podcast, so both those guys deserve a shout-out.
That'll do it for this week's edition of the Los Angeles City Section Baseball Podcast. We'll see you next week. There's sure to be more switch-ups in our top 10. It's been a crazy season in the City Section. We've been enjoying it. We'll keep following along. See you next time.